I am back, and you are comfortably zoned with me, the Zigzag Man, in Alameda, California, Northern California at that. I'm at the 420 studio, and we're down at the lagoon, as Archie Bunker would say. And things are beautiful in Alameda, partly because my guest today is an old comedy friend and Renaissance man, filmmaker, and super guy. I welcome from San Francisco, Kurt Weitzmann. How are you, Kurt?
Good, Ralph. Good talking to you. Hello, Media Land.
Yeah, well, we're back in the swing. I think this is your second or third time back at the Zone.
Yeah.
And we check in. Yeah, we check in with each other on the important things. I think I remember, if I'm not mistaken, you came out on my show, which thrilled me to no end, and I thought that was pretty cool. How are things going?
Yeah, things are good. Things are good. Can I just say that you sound exactly like I pictured Mr. Natural to look like. So, if that makes any sense at all. But anyway,
Mr. Natural, huh? I don't. You're way ahead of me. I'm out of the social mainstream. Who is Mr. Natural?
Mr. Natural. Remember Mr. Natural from I think it was Art Crumb's drawing of Mr. Natural from the 70s.
Oh yeah. Great. That's not bad, I guess.
No, it's good. It's good. Keep on talking.
All right, I'm trying. I think I found what I'm good for, which is sitting around and talking to folks on the telephone and having a good time. Which I don't know if you can make it work. It's good work if you can get it. If you can get it,
it's a living. It's a living.
It's a living, such as it is. And I do have fun with it. I like to reminisce about old comedy days. But before we get into anything, I want to wish a mutual friend of ours, Jimmy Gunn, some good luck. He's going through some rough times right now and recovering from some surgery. And he's one of the most courageous guys I ever met in my life. He's been
he really is. I've done a lot of work with a lot of theater. Did a lot of theater with that guy.
Yeah,
pretty amazing.
And we go back, the three of us, probably 25, 28 years.
I think I saw his first set. I remember him jumping on stage at the Holy City Zoo, falling and cutting his forehead, and blood was dripping down his face the whole set. It was just hilarious. And he got up.
I'll bet he kept on going. It didn't stop him.
He did, of course. And it was the most frightening thing I think the audience ever saw. But he kept going.
What was your first set like at the Holy City Zoo? I talk a lot about the zoo.
My first set was horrible. I didn't get one. You go on Sunday night at 1 a.m, and I did not get one laugh. And then I went back the second time and invited a few friends and did, respectably. I got a few laughs, and that was. But the first time on stage, it was complete silence.
What gave you the idea that you were a funny man?
Well, I always knew I was funny. I mean, I wrote stuff, and I performed outside of comedy clubs, open mics at coffee houses in college and all that stuff. So, I had a little bit of the taste, but I never was in front of a real audience. Not that was a real audience at the Zoo.
Okay, well, yeah.
I'd never been on a stage of a real comedy club, so that was a rude awakening,
When you were growing up, I bet you had comedy records, right? Because you're close to my age.
Sure, my favorites were Bill Cosby, and they're hard to listen to now. It's a shame.
I know, isn't that horrible? Yeah. Mine too.
No, but I love all the classics.
Bob Newhart, I'll bet.
Bob Newhart, sure.
Your humor is very dry.
Recorded at the Purple Onion in San Francisco.
Yes, with the bus driver. The Unzipped Mind, and I think I got my first moniker as the what was it? The Unzipped Mind of. His was the Unbuttoned Mind. Mine was the Unzipped Mind.
The Unzipped. There you go. Okay.
Right.
Right.
He was the guy. You can differentiate the two. He was the guy with the talent, if I remember correctly. It was easy to tell us apart.
It's great. I think he's still with us.
Still with us, and Rickles is still with us, and
Yeah.
A lot of the old guys still are. It seems the comedians have a way of dying on stage and living off of it for a long time.
But that segues into the next thing I'm doing, and Robin Williams, one of the greats. We lost him recently.
Yes.
It was tragic. Yeah, that was terrible. And then I'm doing this film that Margaret Cho came to town. She started doing the BeRobin campaign.
Right, and this is to benefit the homeless, am I correct?
Yeah, she'd started a homeless outreach and campaign, and all inspired by the philanthropy of Robin Williams, because Robin Williams was amazing in his philanthropy, and we were all grieving, and she decided to take that grief and do something positive with it, and started this really amazing campaign called BeRobin, where she would just go out in the street and busk and live performance comedians, musicians, all on the street, and just put a box of money in front of them, and anybody could come up and take money and give money. And the mantra was as they say, was if you have, give; if you need, take. And it was just this amazing event.
Wow!
Or a number of events. It was 9 or 10 events. So homeless people just come up and take a wad of money, and just the look on their face was just like, I can have this, and it was just beautiful. It was just beautiful. And
that is very, very nice. And that puts comedians in a good light. Yeah.
Oh, I think comedians are really inertly philanthropic. I think that there's a certain amount of, and that's touched in the film. We touched that, we hit that in the film, that, comedians have a perspective that a lot of people don't, and we twist things, and we are observers, and so we see the pain in the world,
We're sociologists. We're sociologists.
Yeah. And Robin Williams was the king of that. He really, and he knew how screwed up the world was. He knew how good, how lucky he was, and how much he had, and he gave back. He gave back so much, And Margaret Cho said to her, "Yeah, go ahead."
I just want to know how we could give to help, and how we can see your film.
Well, right now there's a benefit. There's a benefit on the 10th of August, and at the Oasis in San Francisco on 11th and Folsom, and that's going to be the 10th. It's from 6 to 10 o'clock, and there'll be bands and musicians and comedians performing, and it's a benefit. It's also a food. It's a clothing drive for the homeless also. So bring summer clothes to donate. And it's a benefit for the film, which is the documentary I made about this whole event. So it's raising money to get some post-production costs and getting the word out there. And we'll use this film to do other BeRobin events. Hopefully it'll be a tool to raise more money and raise more awareness.
Kurt, this is tremendous. Makes me tingle that, first of all, that Margaret's in on it. You and I got started with her back in the old Rose and Thistle days. And she went on to great drug-consuming fame and other things.
Yeah.
Tremendous.
It was great to connect with her again on this project, because she's such a lovely person, and she's so funny. I mean, she's just
absolutely.
I don't know anyone else who could have done this. I mean, she was juggling so many things. She was organizing it. She was up there performing, and it was just amazing to watch. So
she has a spirit about her. Once she gets going, she's dynamite. And as she proved in her comedy career, she just was out there. And they say that people get lucky, this, that, and the other thing. I mean, she worked hard. Let's face it.
She got lucky, and then she got very unlucky very quickly, and she bounced back, and that's real perseverance.
Right. Absolutely. It's not what you do when you're up there. It's how you react to when you're down there. And that's,
exactly.
I really gained a whole new respect for her, and I think this is terrific. Hey, Kurt, let me learn a little bit about you for our files, as they used to say. And I want to know what your writing process is like. Do you write when things occur to you that are funny, or do you make an appointment with yourself to work on your act in X number of hours? Do you spend afternoons doing it? What's your process?
These days for my stand-up, I like to write on stage. I have a backlog of material now, so I'm not writing so many new bits, although I should be. But when I do write those bits, I do have to sit down and write them. But the tags and the working those bits out, you have to do on stage, you know. So,
right.
But when it comes to longer pieces, you know, plays or there's a discipline. There's definitely a discipline. And even with stand-up, I think these days I sit down and I write. I have to be stationary in front of my computer writing, and then you go out and you try it, you know.
Okay. What would you tell somebody who's new in the business and trying to break in?
Stand up, just get on stage as often as you can. Go on stage as often as you can, and do it the standard way. So in other words, work on your 5 minutes first, work on your 10 minutes, then work, you know, and then get that solid, and then go on longer sets, because these days I find comics are just going straight to the, you know, they're not punching their jokes. They're just getting up there and kind of rambling on. And I like a good, solid boom, boom, boom. You know, that's always
right.
That's going to be
open, middle, close type thing. You know, open it.
If you could do it. Yeah, if you can write a good, solid 10 jokes in 2 minutes. You know what I mean?
Right.
So concise words and keep it. You know,
maybe try to make them
counts.
into a bit. Maybe try to run them together
counts.
and make them into a bit. Make it conversational.
Yeah. But that comes later. You know, learn how to write a joke first.
Right.
And get that laugh and see how that feels. But so yeah, I mean, I think when you're starting, you just want you know, just your words to be really concise and your jokes just to hit.
Right. Do you remember John Cantu? Of course, I like to talk about him.
I do. Yeah.
Give me a Cantu story, maybe from out of your memory. I like to think about him a lot.
Well,
when he was
one of my favorite things when I met Robin Williams a number of times. We became quite friendly towards the end, and it was a you know, I felt a respect coming in from him to me, which is such a thrill when your heroes nod to you and say that's funny. It's just a great feeling. And but so I remember watching him on stage and him doing a set at maybe I don't know what it was. It was after the zoo, but he was up there and just talking about all these characters in the San Francisco comedy scene that I knew, like John Cantu, and he started just doing jokes about John Cantu, and I said, wow, we have this, you know, no one else knows what he's talking about, you know, we just have this history, and that's one thing about the community of comics, too, which is wonderful, because we do have that reference point. We do know what a crappy gig is like. We do know what the road's like. We have these inside jokes that are just, you're in a community. It's really kind of, and the ups and downs are huge. So, you know, it's just this respect, you know. It's like if you stick with it, you've got a little
you mentioned the road. It's kind of funny. We're both New Yorkers, and we're out in California living in the big city back in those days. And when we did get good enough to go on the road, describe the road. The road was places like Madera, Modesto, Livermore, right, Turlock.
Out in the valley,
it was just
where, you know, people just didn't want to hear, like, your progressive point of view. You know, they wanted to hear jokes about getting laid and drinking and, you know, and so you always, San Francisco comics got a reputation of just being too, you know, well, just kind of, I don't know. I mean, because here's the thing. I always thought that comedy was an urban thing. When it gets out into the, you know, the
sticks
into the wilderness, it just doesn't. You know, you can't. You got to switch your gears. You know, you got to. These people aren't cultured. They don't. You know, not that's kind of a crude thing to say, but they don't care about the same things that. You know, they're not sitting back in San Francisco and
it's a different culture.
Yeah.
Right. They're not thinking about.
So the road is always tough because you want to do your favorite bits, but sometimes you can't because people are just going to turn. You can't do jokes about Sarah Palin in Ohio. You know what I mean? You can't do jokes about because I think comedy needs a foil, and it's all about the things you rail against. And being in San Francisco, you rail against political correct stuff, you know, and that's not what all of the country's like. So I find that your political jokes always have to be rock solid. So someone even who doesn't agree with what you're saying will go, "That's a good joke." You know what I mean?
Right.
So political humor is harder because it's it's polarizing sometimes.
What's your favorite moment doing comedy over the years?
Oh, it's a hard question. We did a show with Howard Stone. We did a group called Comedy Noir, and we did the Hitler roast at Sketchfest in San Francisco. And it was just the most beautifully dark, wonderful show. And it was 250 people packed for SF Sketchfest, which is a great festival, and the people are there to see comedy, and they looked at the Hitler roast and they said, "I want to go see this." So we had this crowd jam that really were excited to see it, and we just knocked it out of the park. And it was just me and Howard wrote the whole show. A couple other comics put a few jokes in here and there, but I was just so proud of that show. It was just a magical moment, I thought.
Do you have it on YouTube, or do you have it taped somewhere?
There's a bunch of clips. You can go to my YouTube page, and you see me playing Jeff Foxworthy hosting that thing. Howard Stone does an amazing Hitler. He played Hitler, and everyone should go see that. That is just and Caitlin Gill played Anne Frank, and she whispered it was just the whole thing was just because what we did, we got Hitler roasted. We had all the evil people from history roasting him, because how roasts go in the comedy world. You have to kind of respect the person you're roasting, and that's the fun about it. So that was the hook, and that was the but yeah, there are clips of it, and you can go online and look up Howard Stone Hitler roast, and his performance is just mind blowing. It's really great. I
will do that, and I suggest.
As a matter of fact, Robin Williams really wanted to do that show with us, and sadly we never put it together. We didn't have the money to produce it because he said, "I would like to do it," and then you put a show on, and of course he's out of town, he can't make it, so we couldn't really. But we never got a chance to do that with him, and that's too bad. It's such a thrill. Yeah.
That's it. What was he like? Can you tell me something about him, because you got to know him, you say? And
sweet man. I mean, I was just. It's one of those moments where you're just like sitting there talking to this guy, talking to this hero of yours, and realizing, wow, my hero is not just my comedy hero. He happens to be one of the nicest people I've ever met. It's just this,
which makes him even more of a hero at that point. Because he's human.
I felt the same way about Warren Thomas. It was just, he was very warm, and he just made you feel special just talking to him. It was really, really special. He was just an amazing guy, and it was so sad. I mean, I just broke down crying when I heard, especially when I heard, how he went. It was just really sad. It was sad for the whole comedy community. So this whole BeRobin campaign was more, was Margaret's healing. It was all of our healing, and over this, this loss. And making, realizing the loss was also a loss to humanity and the homeless population, and we just thought that it's time, to do something positive on his behalf,
I think it's wonderful. I think it's great. Please, everybody out there, check it out. Kurt, thanks for coming by.
There's an Indiegogo account too. Go to indiegogo.com/projects/BeRobin the movie. And you can find it there to donate if you'd like. And come out on the 10th of August at the Oasis.
I definitely will. Can't wait to see you there. And is there a time? What time is that?
Yeah, it's 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock. We're going to screen it, part of the film around 9 o'clock. So that's an optimal time to come.
Terrific. Thank you, Kurt. You're a joy.
In San Francisco. All right. Thanks.
All right.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks, man. Be good and keep them flying. I'm going to end this episode in the manner that I always do. I'm going to implore you, Kurt, and all of the audience to keep your humor dry, keep your dreams wet, keep your kids and grandkids out of military recruiting stations, and keep your children off the laps of clerics wearing dresses. I'll say no more. Keep on keeping on. And adios, amigos and amigas.
Great. Thanks, Ralph.